everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we will be discussing some of my stories from Freshers. These are not necessarily stories that happened in Freshers Week per se, but I will be spreading out some of the most entertaining and sometimes embarrassing things that happened to me throughout my first year at university. I guess we can start off actually with Freshers Week. On the first day, we arrived quite late. Well, not late, like I arrived maybe an hour before dinner time. We went to dinner. I was in line with a bunch of girls who studied biology. I'm gonna preface this by saying I have friends now who study biology. It wasn't you. Trust me, it was not you who I met on the first day. But these girls were really boring.
Don't be fucking rude. Are you kidding me?
So we went and got our food and I sat down and these girls were like to my left. And then to my right were a whole other group of girls. I heard this girl saying she was from Vancouver and she said her name and it sounded kind of familiar. So I asked her if her dad was a pilot and she said yes. I was like, OMG, my dad's a pilot too.
I'm just like you. I think that's true. You're just like me. Yes, I can see.
Our dads know each other. That's how like me and one of my friends met, and then I kind of got introduced to their group. So I completely forgot the people to my left and just like turned and started speaking to the people on my right. A bunch of them were on the same corridor and they invited me to their prees. I went to their prees. I met another girl. She was from Edinburgh and we were having a chat and discussing stuff, and she asked me where I grew up and stuff and I said Qatar, and she was like, oh, do you by any chance know this person? I'm just gonna make up a name. Do you know Beth? And I said, oh my word, are you joking? Of course I know Beth. Beth was in my school. And this girl was so shocked and we started exchanging stories about how we knew Beth, and then we took a photo together and we sent it to Beth, and Beth was like, wow, what is going on? So it kind of dawned on me that this is a very small world, and while I didn't specifically know anyone when I was coming to uni, I certainly had people who had connections with other people. It certainly wasn't the last time that I would have such a connection. On the second day of Freshers, I'm not going to go into my fiasco of the first night because I explained it in another video. I'll link that above, but embarrassing times. So that day my parents were still there, so we went to lunch together, and then at dinner time everyone was like going on about, oh, clan warfare, we gotta get t-shirts and, you know, go and support our hall and all this stuff. And I remember there was this chant about how much we hated John Burnett, and I still don't understand why we had that chant. But then we also had a chant about how great ABH is, and I cannot for the life of me remember what that chant was. But if anyone knows it, just like leave a comment below because I kind of want to remember what it was. It's a bit rude, I'm not gonna lie, but it was really funny as well. After the fiasco disaster of the night before, I decided not to drink that night, so I had a sober night to myself.
Okay. Whatever you say.
So of course I have clear-cut crystal memory when it comes to this stuff. There was this boy, there was a little flirtation going on. We were on our way to go to 601. My like coat jacket thing is this like big puffy fluffy jacket, and the pockets are lined with the same material that's on the outside, so it keeps you quite warm. I was like, oh, feel the inside of this pocket, and so like his hand was like in my pocket and my hand was in my pocket, and it was all like super flirty. And then we get to 601 and there's a huge crowd of people in front of the stage, and the stage was obviously where all the stuff was going on. There were these competitions. I remember, I think one of the competitions was that you had to get 5 bras from girls. Whoever got it the first would be like declared the winner. One of them was phone numbers. There was a competition where you had to put as many shirts on as you possibly could, and whoever had the most t-shirts on would win. It was just very weird, but quite funny too. And then while this was all going on, because I couldn't see, there was a lot of people, this guy like put me on his shoulders and like lifted me up, and we got told off by the bouncers at 601, so he had to put me down. And then I find out later, this is really funny, I find out later that this boy has a girlfriend. And I'm just like, I'm so confused about what is going on. Watch out for people giving mixed signals, okay? After all this like whole stuff was going on, after that had happened, we started dancing and all this stuff, and then it kind of got to a point we got a bit tired. We met a bunch of people, and then we decided to go back to someone's kitchen. We played Never Have I Ever with like a group of people. Honestly, it sounds a bit cliche, but it was such a good icebreaker. Everyone was kind of feeling comfortable with each other. The questions led to more chats and stuff like that. That was actually a pretty good night, I'm not gonna lie. I had quite a lot of fun that night. I said I'd talk about opening ball and how not the best it was for me. I had left my medieval history source response review, whatever you want to call it, kind of until last minute.
What are you, just a big dumb stupid doofy idiot with a doofy idiot hairdo?
They wanted it really early on, and it was a bit too early for my taste. Yeah, honestly, they wanted it from us so early on, but that's besides the point. It was due on Monday. I think opening ball was either Friday or Saturday. I said to myself, you have to finish at least half of this essay before you head out and go to opening ball. So I was like typing and frantically got ready and went to opening ball. By the time I got there, all the champagne was gone, so there wasn't any champagne to serve me. I couldn't find people basically for the first half an hour. And then when I did find people, I was also not drinking that night. And I don't know what it is, like when you're sober and you're alone, you're just like, oh, who do I interact with? Because everyone else was drinking. So it was just very, I think I had one drink. I had a guy buy me a drink. That's what happened. Because I also didn't bring any money with me, so that was quite funny. And then I think one of the girls who I like finally saw and like caught up with, I felt like such a third wheel because it was her and this other guy, and I was just like, she bought us pizza, and because there were all these food trucks and stuff, it was kind of anticlimactic.
I know, title of my sex tape.
As in, I was so rushed and so much like thinking about my essay and the fact that I had to be back in bed really early so I could wake up early the next day to work on my essay. I think the stress of that didn't let me have a good time. I knew like 3 or 4 people there, and that was it. So I was in the line to get my coat hung up, and I met a bunch of 4th years who gave me good advice, I guess, as in I told them who I had for my tutor, and they were like, oh, he's such a lovely, easy marker, don't even worry about it. And they were right. So, you know, 4th years have some wisdom to give unto the freshers for sure. Now, Raisin, I don't even know kind of where to begin with Raisin.
We're crossing the road. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you.
Because it was a little bit crazy. I had this thing throughout my first year where I kept saying, oh, this is the drunkest I've ever been. No, this is the drunkest I've ever been.
I've actually never been this drunk like ever.
But I think Raisin remains the one time where I finished pretty much almost all vodka with a chaser, of course, you know. Take the chaser, ew, don't let it sit in your mouth. It was a lot of alcohol during that one day, and I think I explained it in another video as well, the events of the day. But then that night, we preed at my parents, my academic mum's place, and we went to the Vic as a group. The Vic didn't have an event like this past year, so I was really disappointed about that. But in my first year, they had a huge event. There were so many people there. It was really fun. I think there are so many videos of me videoing myself and saying the cringiest things possible, or just, you know, acting in such like a drunken fashion. It was unbelievable.
The plan is to be so sober in front of the bouncer.
Throughout that day, so the same guy that I mentioned from the second day, you know what, let's call him John, okay? John and I had been Snapchatting throughout Raisin, like the day. Let's pray he doesn't watch my YouTube videos or know anything about this, because that would be great. Yeah. I had been told in confidence by a friend that him and his girlfriend had broken up. So I was like, oh, you know, I may as well like make my move and whatnot. I was also drunk. Let's be very perfectly honest with you. I was very drunk. So I messaged him and I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. We should hang out and all this stuff. And he was like, oh, I'm still with my girlfriend. And I was like,
excuse me, bitch?
okay, well, you know, my source was incorrect. That's fine, that's fine. And then this guy that I'd been like chatting to, we'd like kissed maybe once. He found out that I was like flirting with someone else and he got so angry at me, which, you know, I should have realized back in the moment that that was a huge red flag, because who gets upset if you've kissed a person once? If I'm flirting with someone else, I don't owe anything to you. So anyway, he got really mad and I was up until 5 a.m. trying to deal with that whole situation of him being mad at me and then me crying because like I was also drunk and like upset about the fact that he was mad at me. So I went to bed at like 5 a.m. and then I had to be up at 9 to go to the foam fight. Which, you know, it wasn't fun. The foam fight, I felt terrible because I had gotten 4 hours of sleep. I also was upset because of the events of the like night before. Also, I had to keep like shielding my face from people who wanted to shove foam up my nose and like into my lungs. And so it was a very like scary time having to protect myself from everything. Our parents put so much effort into it. Like my academic parents put so much love and thought into everything behind Raise It. Like that's the kind of parent I want to be, to have thought about what your child is gonna wear, like all these thematically involved things. It just made the day so much more special. And they were also so supportive when you were in a drunken state, and they would reassure you and back you up. It was just all the energy I needed in my life. Do I have time? Yes, I do. Okay, let's talk about Halloween. Probably the actual drunkest I've ever been, because it's also last time that I've been like sick. I've only been sick twice, and the first time was only because I mentioned in the other video, because I ate too much food after not having eaten all day, and then I had like a beer and a gin and it weirdly reacted. This second time is like the actual time I threw up because of alcohol, and I honestly think it was because I didn't pace myself. So that night was also quite a event-filled night. I had to go to the Frankenreed's competition ceremony because I was one of the winners, and they were giving us either a book voucher or a bottle of wine. You can guess which one I picked. It was the bottle of wine. Yes, I got my white wine and I was like fully decked out in my heels, my Cleopatra outfit, like full makeup, all everything. And then I went to my academic mum's. They host a Halloween party every year and it's really fun actually. I want to be the bearer of that tradition. I want to do that as well. I went there and my sisters, bless them, they were on maybe level 6 drunkenness scale and I was a 3, and they arrived after I'd already got there. So I was like, I need to catch up. So I kept drinking and I think I drank too much too quickly because I was sick. I was supposed to go to the Halloween event at 6:01, but because I was so ill, I couldn't go. One of my mums and one of my sisters, bless them, walked me home because they called a cab and the cab wouldn't take me. That's how bad of a state I was in. And they took me home and I have a stuffed toy dog that I sleep with every night. Yes, don't come at me. They put Bruno into this plastic bag and they tied the plastic bag like around my arms so that I couldn't roll onto my back and, you know, choke from throwing up. But I didn't throw up after I went to bed. They put me to bed. I still had like all my makeup on and everything, and I still had my contacts in. That's the wild thing. But I woke up at 5 a.m. I think, 5:30 a.m. and I took my contacts out. Thank the Lord I did that. Otherwise they would have literally stuck to my eyeballs. And I washed my face to remove some of the makeup, but I still had my eyes on. And then I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh, just in time for lectures, and I had to like wipe all my eyes, and there were still remnants of this eye makeup that I did for Cleopatra as I went to my lecture. A final story I have for today is my interaction with the Mormons.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Okay, usually I am so chill with people talking to me about spirituality and religion. I'm always up for a chat of sharing our respective beliefs. But as you can tell, probably if you know anything about Mormons, this is not the case when it comes to them. So I was walking back to ABH with my friend Naomi, and we were on Market Street, like walking, and suddenly we hear a voice, and this voice asks us, what do you love most about St. Andrews? I was like, oh, that's interesting. Someone wants to chat, or maybe it's for a survey or something. And I said, oh, the community, you know, everyone's so loving and warm and just like you know, always ready to chat to anyone. And I literally don't know how I didn't see this coming. And then he was like, are either of you religious? And I was like, no. Naomi's also like, no. And I was like, I'm quite spiritual, but I don't follow religion, blah blah blah. He turns around and he's like, have you ever read the Book of Mormon? I can't even say this with a straight face. He turns around, have you ever read the Book of Mormon? No, I have not. And then I kid you not, he pulls this Book of Mormon out. It's as if it came from nowhere. He like pulled it out of thin air or something. I didn't see where it came from, basically. He like turned and then came back with the book. He was like, let me talk to you about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I was just like, I need to leave. This is culty. My Christian friends are not like this. And Naomi was like giving me the eyes, like, we need to leave. He was like, the Mormon guy, he was like, oh, would you like to talk about this further? Because we kept saying we didn't have time. To get him out of our hair, I gave him my number. And I was like, well, I'm gonna block him later, obviously. Over the next 2 weeks, he kept sending me messages about meeting up. And when I got the third message, I literally was like, absolutely not, block. This is not happening. It's extremely culty, and that is just not the lifestyle that I'm after. You know, I watch Jimmy Snow. I've seen his content enough to know Mormonism is something I don't want to get close to. Those were just a few of my freshers stories. I have a lot of like juicier ones if you guys want to hear those, or in general just any funny stories that have happened to me. Maybe not necessarily in freshers, but just weird experiences that I've had at this university, because there are plenty of odd things that have happened. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't so already. There is so much more content coming your way, guys. I have decided to do a ranking of the books that I read in first year for English and Comp Lit. You have that to look forward to. My ranking will be savage. I promise you I will spare no book. I will roast the ones I hate. I'll see you all next week. Thank you for watching as always and for supporting me. Bye.